This is DW News Africa. Coming up on the program, when your lifelong dreams put you in danger. Across the continent, online gambling is on the rise and so is addiction. We investigate how easy access to betting apps is feeding dreams of hitting the jackpot and fueling a crisis, especially among Africa's youth. And the dream of football glory turns into horror for many young African men. We uncover the exploitation facing those who leave home chasing a career in the world's most popular sport. Plus, a possible solution for the women who play a critical role in producing Uganda's top export, coffee. All those beans, but so little control of the profits. Until now. I'm Michael Oku. Welcome. It has been called Africa's silent epidemic, gambling addiction. Across the continent, young people have become ideal targets for global betting companies, especially since 8 in 10 of them own mobile phones, often equipped with some form of payment, or as one addict put it, a casino in your pocket. The betting companies leverage young people's passion for football, and there's no passion greater than for the European leagues, where some clubs are even sponsored by betting companies, creating the impression there's little distinction between the two, football and gambling. Estimates on the size of Africa's gambling vary, but according to Astute Analytica, in 2023, the market generated a revenue of around $6 billion. It's projected to almost double by 2032. As betting booms, critics are raising the alarm, saying it's destroying lives. According to a GeoPoll study conducted last year among more than 3,000 people in 6 countries, 76% of people interviewed had gambled in Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, and Nigeria, with Kenya leading at 82%. This high engagement increases the risk of addiction, financial instability, and mental health issues. Now the government in Kenya has banned betting advertisements and promotions for 30 days as it seeks to curb, quote, a proliferation of gambling activities across the country. DW's East Africa correspondent Felix Moringa met 2 men who say they simply can't break the habit.
In Nairobi's informal settlements, betting shops are a familiar sight. But they're not the only way to gamble. These days, all you need is a mobile phone. Lawi K. Mohammed runs a barber shop on the outskirts of Nairobi, but his online gambling addiction wipes out much of his daily earnings. Time and again, he's unable to pay his bills. Mohammed still remembers placing his first bet worth $40.
I won that day, and that gave me the appetite to keep betting all the time. I wanted to make easy money, and I didn't see a problem taking my rent money to bet. I just didn't know that it would lead to heartbreak after heartbreak, year in, year out.
In a pool bar just outside Nairobi, we meet Joram Shege. He's a gem dealer by trade and has a history of online gambling. Shege says he once won $4,000, enabling him to buy a parcel of land. But on most days, he lost money, way more than he ever made.
This thing is killing dreams. It is toxic like cancer. Let me tell you, the moment you start playing, it's like cancer has infiltrated your body. You cannot survive like this, not until the cancer has been removed.
On the streets of Nairobi, the problem of gambling addiction is well known, and opinions vary on what's causing it and how to tackle it.
People are not gambling because they have a lot of money to gamble, it's because they don't have money. So they think that because they can be lucky, they can make a breakthrough. To improve the economy, gambling will add.
I think young people should think nothing comes for free. And since the betting companies promises free money, you should think twice about it before doing it. And also remember, when the deal is still good, you should also think twice.
But thinking logically is difficult when you've already gambled and lost money. Many patrons who've lost their last bet place another one straight away in a bid to recover their funds and lose again. a vicious cycle starts, one that is difficult to break out of. Harrison Mwaura is an addiction counselor who works with gamblers wanting to end this destructive pattern.
The solution is being open, being honest, that you have a gambling problem. Then after that is now taking the support that you have and being genuine with the gambling steps that will take you through and practicing according to what you do. And of course, knowing the stigma will be there, knowing that discrimination will be there, knowing that the guilt and shame will be there. But then you're able to deal with them and you'll be able to be helped and also help yourself after the gambling cycle.
Mohammed says he will do anything to end his gambling addiction.
If there was medicine that would help me forget that betting exists in the world, I would pay the highest price for it so I could finally stop gambling. I've been gambling too long.
So too have Joram Shege and many other gambling addicts who know their habit is leading them towards financial ruin, but just can't beat the feeling that one day it will make them rich.
I'd like to bring in Tunde Adebisi, researcher at Ulster University in Belfast, Northern Ireland, currently writing his PhD on the significance of football gambling among young people. He's also one of the organizers of Gambling Realities Africa, a collective of professionals aiming to reduce the harms of gambling on the continent. And we welcome you to DW News Africa, sir.
Thank you.
Tunde, what's driving the gambling boom in Africa?
That's a very interesting question. And one thing I can say is that the industry knows how to leverage and exploit the realities of people, especially people who engage in this activity. For instance, sport gambling, we know for sure that sport gambling is more prevalent amongst young people, and that's because of our attachment. I mean, the young people's attachment with sport, especially football. And there are other reasons which are sort of localized reasons, but broadly there are industry level drivers.
These gambling companies are largely international, mostly from Europe. Why did they set their sights on Africa?
So the proliferation of gambling coincided with some of the period where Europe and the global north generally experienced tighter regulations, especially in the early 2000s. And a scholar actually described it as a regulatory escape. This industry or these operators seek to establish their market in less regulated areas where the regulations are still developing, or areas that regulations don't exist at all.
I recently read about a 16-year-old from Malawi who killed himself. His mother says after stealing from people he knew to pay for his habit, and then the fear he'd never resolve his gambling debts. Tunde, you're a recovered addict yourself. I wonder whether you can tell us how easy it is to fall into the gambling rabbit hole and how difficult it is to get out.
Okay, so yes, I was once a gambler myself before I was lucky enough to get out of it. I think the difference between the period where I was able to escape gambling and now is the way the activity itself is now being, it's saturated, it's all over the place. I mean, on African streets, you would readily find gambling shops, all over the streets. They are everywhere. In our daily lives, like, there is no way of escape these days. So these sort of things are the reasons why it is much more difficult today to get out of it. And another thing was that because gambling was not really a thing back then, and when I say gambling, I mean commercialized gambling. It was not really a thing back then. There is a sort of shame that is attributed to you being, you frequenting yourself in the gambling shop. But today, the shame is somewhat is evaporating somehow. And shame is now being replaced with flex. So instead of you to feel shame about it, people actually flex about it because it is now tied to the performance of masculinity in a way. And sometimes if you do not participate in it as a man, you can even be shamed. Or so that's the kind of difference that we have seen in recent years.
I'm curious, what do you make of this 30-day ban in Kenya?
From a researcher's point of view, the temporal ban is difficult to accept, if you ask me. Because the question is, what informed the need for a 30-day ban on advert? Why is it a ban on advert and why is it temporary? For me, I think advertisement is being overrated, especially for an activity that is already popular amongst the people.
If it's now part of the culture, what do you do about it?
I think regulatory bodies needs to focus more on gambling marketing as a whole. And the other thing that I would like to see that the government does is to really make up their mind, because we really know that they make a lot from gambling in terms of taxes, levies, licensing, and voluntary contributions. So the government really needs to make up their mind whether to say whether they want to prioritize economic gains or that they want to be more sensitive to its social consequences.
Tunde Adebisi, many thanks.
Thank you.
Our next story is also about big dreams, a dream boys just about everywhere share, but seems particularly acute in Africa. Becoming a world-class footballer, playing on a brightly lit European pitch, your name emblazoned on the back of a jersey, like idols Didier Drogba, Sadio Mane, or Mohamed Salah. What you do not imagine is being trafficked to a foreign country and struggling to survive. Every year, thousands of aspiring African players are duped, exploited, and even abused as they try to land spots on professional teams abroad. Abdul Ghaffar Diko from Ghana is one of them.
Abdul Ghafar's life looks very different from what he once imagined. As a child in Ghana, he dreamed of becoming a professional football player.
Every player in Africa goal is to come to Europe and play.
But he was abandoned by so-called agents after being taken abroad. Many young African footballers are moved around with the same dream, often in exchange for thousands of euros. These agents hope to cash in on the dreams of young boys who see football as a chance at a better life.
There's so much corruption in the system. They come with sweet mouth. And you know, footballers, you are suffering in Africa, you don't have good things in Africa. If an agent comes, says, okay, this is the situation, I'm taking you to Europe, you do.
His agent had his player pass, meaning he owned him and controlled his moves in football. For his first move, he was given a fake invitation to a club in Tanzania.
He took two of us, one striker and one midfielder. We got arrested for something we didn't even know. It's like child trafficking, you know.
His agent then secured a transit visa and fake papers, allowing him 6 months at a second division club in Ethiopia. Later, he learned the visa wasn't valid, and since he was there illegally, he had to pay a hefty fine.
I had to stay there 4 years to be able to pay all this money before I left.
Abdul Ghafar's agent was arrested, but he stayed silent because he still needed his help.
I protected him. I'm like, he didn't know, so that's why things like this happen.
A new agent proposed an opportunity with a club in Ukraine, and Abdul Ghaffar jumped at the chance to move to Europe.
It's funny, because I thought I was going to play direct contract.
But instead of playing and getting paid by the club, he was asked to pay for the cost of his room and board.
I didn't earn anything. It's either you go back or you play for free, then you get some videos, you get some connections, Europe, then you can move.
He was able to come to Berlin, Germany through a personal connection. He hoped to find a professional club, but it was much harder than he expected. Now he has a job, a family, and plays on Sundays with other Africans, many of whom share similar experiences in football.
I found out that it's not easy in Germany when you are not from here. They are like, hey, you're good, but it will be difficult because you are black. Now I'm working, I'm a painter, and at the same time, I'm working with kids, teaching because I've passed through a lot. It's really, really important for the young ones to know that it's not just, as they say, it has side stories as well.
A hard-learned lesson he hopes other young aspiring football players in Africa will learn from.
I'd like to welcome now Oluwashina Okeleji. He's a sports journalist based in Lagos, Nigeria. Shina, welcome to DW News Africa.
Thanks, Michael.
There are reports estimating some 15,000 young African men are trafficked every year to Europe alone under false promises of professional contracts. What are the common tactics these traffickers use to hook these men and their families?
I think it's a chance, and of course, telling them that the family can be taken out of poverty by just leaving Africa for Europe. The potential of becoming a professional footballer, you'll be able to take your family out. They promise everything. They tell them all the sweet things that they need to hear. You know, they give them examples of notable African names like Didier Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, Anthony Yeboah, you know, major stars of the past who actually went from Africa to Europe and managed to take their family out of poverty. So any family in Africa hearing that, they will quickly turn to those people and, of course, listen to what they have to say.
There's an implication in what you're saying, I suppose, that there's a level of desperation here. Some of the same things that drive people to emigrate from one country to another apply here.
Absolutely, and it's very easy to see because people are living in poor condition, and of course they understand that the only way out could be in that child, could also be, I mean, for a child who obviously probably lacked education. The family concept in Africa is that for any parent or for any family to change, one person can change the entire story in the family.
Let's talk about these scammers, as you put it, the role that they play, the local and international actors here. Who are the main predators? Are they local agents, club officials, international syndicates, and do they work in concert together?
In terms of my investigation into this kind of how this thing works, first, the ones locally capitalize on the fact that these players or their parents lack the knowledge and the know-how on how to, you know, like discover a scam when you see one. But the ones abroad, they are just sitting down there thinking, you know what, if they can send me money to probably give them the fake invitation letter, which is to go out there to come to Europe, or if they also invest heavily in my lies, I can actually make quick bucks. So it's a general thing. It's not just a local thing. They also need the backing of some people close to this family, because somebody has to come to the family to say, you know what, he's done it for A, he can do it for your child. He's done it for B, he can do it. And then for the international ones, it's even much more difficult for the family to figure it out, because they'll believe anything that is coming from outside of the continent of Africa.
So what happens to these men once they realize the promises made to them are false and that those dreams, in fact, will never come true?
They're completely shattered. Many of them. I know a guy who was taken to Italy, and then he ended up in France. He was abandoned by these agents because there was absolutely nothing. He came by sea to get himself to Europe, only to find out that this guy has abandoned and left him to his fate. And most of them are, abused badly. Most of them are abused. Some of them they're just taken and passed around by individuals who capitalize on the fact that they are vulnerable. They have nowhere to go. They have
Are you talking about sexually here?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've had people who also end up becoming something else, a young mole for drug dealers somewhere in southern France and all of those places. Not just a France issue. We've had some in Italy, some in Spain as well.
Given the scale of this exploitation, what reasonable steps can African football associations, governments, or bodies like FIFA take to protect young players and hold bad actors accountable?
Interestingly, there's been a great move by FIFA since 2022 to ensure that, first and foremost, if an agent comes to you asking you for money, flag that. And not just FIFA, there is FIFPro, the Players Union, Global Players Union body, who are also educating not just association, young talent across the globe, not just an African issue now, a globe, telling you that you need to understand that no agent, first and foremost, will demand money from you. That's why there's an agent exam where agents are also told what to do and what not to do. You can easily find out, you can separate scammers from true agents because they have an exam to write themselves. And you as a young player, you can't listen to anyone who's asking you for money because for an agent to actually believe in you, he needs to invest himself and his money in you because you are the one that will return the money back to him. So that's the first one. And also, FIFA ensure that no player leaving Africa or anywhere in the world is not lodged on the transfer system. On the FIFA transfer system, a trial form has to be filled that will ensure that there is information spreading about certain players. So if you are going to travel and no one has presented to you a trial form for you to fill, or a proper document showing that the club will be responsible for your accommodation, insurance, medical, and everything, then that's how to spot a scam. So FIFA, on their own part, has done so much, as well as the confederations. Players need to be protected, and we've seen a reduction in some of those cases.
Oluwashina Okaleji, our deep thanks. Uganda's top export coffee is largely produced by the hard work of women farmers. They plant, nurture, and harvest the crop. Yet, very often, women have little control over the financial wealth that the sale of coffee beans brings in. One initiative in the Suronko region is trying to change that.
Here in Seronko in eastern Uganda, coffee is the community's lifeblood. And women are at the very heart of it.
When we look at coffee value chain, women do the donkey work. It's the women that are planting, when it comes to weeding, harvesting, pulping, fermentation, washing.
The men step in once the coffee beans are ready for sale. They transport and sell the beans to coffee roasters, shops, and other cooperatives, and get paid for the product, giving them the power to control where the money is spent. Merida Ndudu launched her initiative Bayaya Specialty Coffee in 2018. It is changing who controls the money.
We came up with an idea where a woman's coffee was fetching a slightly higher price than that one of a man. It was particularly 200 shillings. If a woman delivered coffee, it would earn that family 200 shillings plus on a kilo. So that motivated the men to trust the women to sell their coffee.
So when women sell, they are paid 200 shillings or 5 cents in euros extra per kilogram. There's also a bonus for the family during the off-season. More than 600 women have joined the business. Juliet Kwaga is one of the women feeling the initiative's positive impact. She remembers that growing up, her father controlled the finances and her mother had to depend on him. But in Kwaga's family, she is financially independent.
I can buy food in the home as a woman. I can take my children to school as a woman. And still, I also have some money as a woman in the home. It's not like I'm depending on my husband, everything. I want school, the child I want a book for my child, or I'm sick, I'm not, such things. Some such is the things that I have to provide by myself.
The initiative Bayaya means sisterhood in the local Lumasaba language. For some, it is certainly living up to its name.
We can't leave without paying tribute to Koyo Kuo, who has died at the age of 57. She was one of the leading figures on the international art scene and a tireless advocate of African artists. Kuo was born in Cameroon in 1967 and grew up in Douala before moving to Switzerland. Almost 30 years later, she returned to Africa to work as an art curator in Senegal and before long was appointed executive director of South Africa's Zeitz, the country's biggest contemporary art museum. Kuo was due to become the first African woman to lead next year's Venice Biennale, one of the world's most prestigious contemporary art events. The official cause of her death remains unknown. That's it for now. We leave you with these images of the fishing festival in Guinea, where thousands of amateurs gather to keep up a tradition that dates back 7 centuries. Festival Noordala marks the beginning of the rainy season. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.